Remember when the most controversial thing about Jimmy Kimmel was that he sometimes made kids think that their Halloween candy had been eaten already? And for some, that's still the only debate people have about him, whether that prank is more mean-spirited than funny. But for others, the man who brought you the week in unnecessary censorship and celebs reading mean tweets, not to mention the man show back in the day, has gone off the rails with his concern for his fellow humans. It didn't entirely all start when, in May, Kimmel impassionedly expressed support for affordable health care for all, inspired by his newborn son needing emergency surgery for a heart defect when he was just hours out of the womb, a confluence of circumstances that would have saddled him for life with what in insurance parlance is known as a pre-existing condition. Though that's when the backlash began. Rather, Kimmel has always been a surprisingly at first but then reliably sensitive soul, first memorably shedding tears on Jimmy Kimmel Live when his uncle Frank died back in 2011. He even choked up talking about Cecil the Lion in 2015. And he's not the only late-night host who's had to start far too many shows by acknowledging that a terrorist attack had occurred somewhere in the world earlier that day, or that they were taping in the wake of a mass shooting in the US. And we know he's not the only late-night host who's grown increasingly political over the last 10 months. But he is the one most likely to shed real, human tears on TV, and as someone who never considered himself a political comedian before, his forays into public policy debate have drawn more scrutiny than Stephen Colbert or Seth Meyers' reliably barbed nightly takes on the Trump administration. Seemingly, watching a guy get emotional on TV talking about his baby boy and saying that there should be no haves and have-nots in society when it comes to quality medical care wouldn't be a lightning rod for controversy. One would think that's a sentiment everyone, no matter who you voted for, could get on board with. Au contraire. Buoyed by an op-ed in the right-wing Washington Times titled, "Shut Up, Jimmy Kimmel, You Elitist Creep," so came the backlash over Kimmel, an admittedly rich Hollywood celebrity. He copped to being wealthy in his monologue, who probably votes all leftian stuff, weighing in on the healthcare debate that has dominated the conversation, or at least the serious policy talk, coming out of Washington, D.C., since President Donald Trump's inauguration in January. Twitter was split right down the aisle, with a veritable standing ovation for Kimmel coming from one side and people more in agreement with the aforementioned column coming down hard on the comedian's altruistic ways on the other. It ultimately became hard to tell, the invective was so diseased, whether critics really did disagree with the message or just the messenger, the Hollywood elite having gotten a worse rap than usual in certain circles, such as those who conduct White House press briefings, in recent months.